I have so many books to talk about today. I have been trying to operate on a system where a book can only come onto my TBR when 5 books come off my TBR, and that has gone awry. I'm going to be doing a video talking about my reading stats for the first half of the year, where I'm going to go into detail on how I'm doing on that front. April until now, 27 books have come onto my shelves, but 14 of those were books for work. And I have been trying to operate on a basis that the books that come onto my shelves from work, I need to read them immediately. They need to come straight off the TBR. 2 of them were books that I had already read, I just didn't own physical copies of them, so they're not adding to my TBR. And 2 of the books were gifts, and I said that gifts didn't count because I can't help it if my loved ones want to treat me with some books. Technically speaking, I got them with book vouchers that I had left over since like December when I had my birthday and Christmas. I'm going to start with the one that really does feel like a very special gift. It is The Book of Lost Hours by Hayley Gulfuso. I had never heard of this book before, I'd never seen it, and then I saw it in an indie bookshop with these gorgeous sprayed edges, and I just knew that it had to come home with me, and it was the perfect gift for me to spend my book tokens on. This is a historical fantasy novel that begins in Nuremberg in 1938. A watchmaker, in an attempt to save his daughter from the Nazis, pushes her through a door, and she is then transported to what we learn is called time space. Her father promises to follow after her, but unfortunately he never comes, leaving her there in time space, a place where the world's memories are stored. Trapped in this library of memories, the little girl realizes that there are timekeepers out there who are trying to destroy these memories, and she takes it upon herself to try and save as many memories as she possibly can. Actually, over halfway through reading this at the minute, and I'm really enjoying it, so I will tell you all about it in my wrap up at the end of the month. I then picked up like the It Girl book of the season, the one that everyone is reading, Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke. I also picked this one up at an independent bookshop. I went out specifically to pick this one up, intending to use the rest of my book tokens on it, but it was a very new bookshop and they weren't quite set up with National Book Tokens yet, and I decided I still wanted to buy this anyway. I'm sure you guys have heard so much about this book already. Everyone has been reading it. It is a look at the kind of rise of trad wife culture and follows a high-profile trad wife influencer who wakes up one day to find herself transported from her modern day life to a genuinely traditional life. She is back in the past, really living out a truly old-fashioned traditional life. I do feel like I need to read this like imminently because I want to be part of the conversation. I want to be involved in all the discourse around this book. A couple of books that I pre-ordered the paperbacks of. This is Softcore by Brittany Newell. This is about a stripper slash sex worker who goes by the name Baby, and her reflections and interrogations of her involvement in that culture when her ex-boyfriend disappears, and she finds herself going kind of deeper and deeper into an erotic underbelly of the city. In her attempts to find them, she is looking in different strip clubs and sex dungeons. Meanwhile, there is a new girl in the strip club who Baby is convinced is trying to steal her identity. As Baby becomes embroiled deeper into these kind of subcultures, she begins to lose her own sense of reality. I have actually finished reading this one already, so again, I will share my thoughts in my wrap up at the end of the month. And then I picked up a female romance. This is The Perfect Match by Adiba Jagardar. I have read lots of this author's young adult books. She has been a firm favourite of mine throughout the years of the Irish Readathon. This is her first adult romance, and of course, as with all of her other books, there is a sapphic romance at the heart of the story, and this time it is a sports romance, specifically football, so you know, perfect reading for around the World Cup. It's about 2 young women who unexpectedly find themselves involved in coaching and local football. Perfect for reading towards this end of Pride Month as well, and really looking forward to seeing what the author does with an adult romance as opposed to a young adult one. The book I picked up a copy of that I have already read is Open Water. I read this last year, and in fact I listened to it on audiobook, and I did really enjoy it, but I found myself thinking that I wish I had read it physically instead of the audiobook. I think I would have got a lot more out of it, especially because it is such a short read. It's about 2 young people who meet in a pub in southeast London. They're both Black British, and they have both found themselves in kind of educational and professional situations where they don't feel like they quite fit in. So they were both in private schools, they're both now artists. They feel like they are a part of a scene and a city that simultaneously celebrates but also kind of rejects them at the same time. And ultimately this book is a love story between the pair of them, but it is also an exploration of race and of masculinity. As I said, really enjoyed it when I listened to it, but do feel like I will get more out of it when I read it physically. Let me set the scene for you. It was a gorgeously hot day, not unlike the weather we are experiencing in London at the minute, but a bit more tolerable, right? Remember like a month ago when we saw hints of glorious weather? It was a Sunday morning. I had taken myself to a dance class. I'd come out of that dance class into a glorious public park. I truly felt like I was living my best life. I went and got a smoothie, a little pastry. I sat on the grass, was reading my book, and then I tentatively tiptoed into the secondhand bookshop. And I lost all sense of control. I was having such a glorious time. I thought, what better way to top off this day than to buy some books? And I found 4 little dinky books that I was like, you're coming home with me. I didn't realize it at the time of me buying them, when I was just like, oh, these are little, I'm gonna take them home with me. But there is kind of a connection that leads from one book to another. Firstly, we have Bodily Secrets by William Trevor. I have read Felicia's Journey by this author. I read it in school, and I've not read anything by this author since. So I thought I would revisit his writing with this slip of a book. This is about Nora O'Neill, who is a wealthy widow, wondering if she will ever fall in love and marry again. And when her son decides to sell the family's failing toy factory, the manager, who appears to be a very decent man, finds himself unemployed. Suddenly Nora sees a hint of happiness in a new venture of her own. This is part of a collection of Penguin books that I'd never seen of or heard about before. It is the Penguin Great Loves collection of books. There is a list of 20 of them on the back of this one. And I don't think I'm going to go like out of my way to like try and collect these, but if I see another one, I will be intrigued to pick it up. I also picked up Night Walks by Charles Dickens, and this is part of the Penguin series of great ideas. This is number 88 in the collection, and it lists number 81 down to 100 on the back of this one. So, I mean, unless there's actually way more than the 20 that are listed on the back of Bodily Secrets, this is a much larger collection. Again, don't think I'm going to collect like all of these books. I don't even know like if they're still in circulation or print. I might keep my eyes peeled for them. And I think this is nonfiction about Charles Dickens and his experiences of insomnia and his attempts to cure his lack of sleep by wandering around the streets of London late at night and chronicling what he saw there. And similarly, but slightly different, this time Parisian, I picked up October Nights by Gerard de Narvel. Now, the Penguin Archive series, I have seen these ones around. They are more recently published in this collection. And whilst Night Walks takes us a look at wandering around the streets of London at night, October Nights does the same, but for Paris. And carrying through that Parisian link, I finally got a copy of Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. You know those books where you just know you're gonna absolutely love it when you get to it. Like, I feel like this book has been waiting for me. I'm so confident that I'm gonna love it, that it's gonna be a new favorite. It is such a like seminal text in queer literature, but specifically Black queer literature. And I've sort of actively avoided hearing detailed reviews about it because I just don't want any of it to be spoiled for me. I have been saying all year that I really want to get the Eurostar to Paris again, so I wonder if I should do that and read both of these Parisian books while doing that. I've also got some non-fiction, but this is Ripening: Why Women Need Fairy Tales Now by Sharon Blackie. This is exactly the kind of non-fiction that I love. I love non-fiction that explores storytelling and books. So obviously fairy tales links to that. It's a book about the importance of fairy tales specifically for women and the roles that these fairy tales can play in rewriting your own narrative, in dealing with past trauma, a bunch of other things as well. It is absolutely beautiful as well. This has this gorgeous red sprayed edge to go with it as well. I really do feel like I'm going to totally love this. And then another book that I've already finished reading is Bookish: A Love Letter to Reading by Lucy Mangan. I'd read her previous book about books, Bookworm, which was specifically about childhood reading, and this is a more expansive exploration of the author's relationships with books and reading throughout her life. As I said, love nonfiction books about books. I've already finished this one. In fact, I read it in May, and I haven't brought you my May wrap up yet. It is coming, but I will be telling you about this book in that video. The other book that I picked up a physical copy of, but I had already read it, was The Dawn of Adonis by Phil Earle. This is an emotional historical fiction novel for kids, and it is set in 1911 and follows what happens when an exotic animal is smuggled in through the London docks, and what happens when one little girl stumbles into this criminal network and attempts to save this precious animal. The other book I picked up that was technically a gift was a World Book Day book. This is Against All Odds by Nathaniel Lasore. I've actually never read any of Nathaniel's books, and I think I would absolutely love them. So a World Book Day book is the perfect little introduction to his writing, and it is about a boy discovering the power of poetry. And I'm not going to go through every single book that came onto my shelves from work, but here they are. I'm going to put them down now. It is too hot to be in front of this camera without a fan on, so I'm just going to leave it there. Since the World Cup's on, and this book has a football on the front of it, and so does this one, it's all about football, can you leave me a football emoji? Let me know that you're here. Or if you've read any of these books and want to share your thoughts on them, please do leave a comment down below. That's it for me today. I hope you're well, and I'll speak to you in my next video.